A great film once taught us that hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, and we see this in action every time we pick up our favorite game installments. Sometimes the journey is a long one, but we push on uninfluenced by distraction. The path ahead may be obstructed, but if we as gamers stick to the words of wisdom uttered by wise men, we shall prevail where the others will surely fail. Coming at you live from the innards of the G1 Toys Toy/Game Room, we bring you our first game in our new PS4 update video called Attack on Titan. And this has some really cool artwork, some good action with this game. This one's produced by W Omega Force and Koei Tecmo, has the mature rating at the bottom. If we turn this over, we can see why it's rated mature at the bottom. Also, this one is basically Japanese voices only, but it does have English subtitles so that you can understand what's going on. A titanic struggle for survival. This game, like I said, had high action. I really appreciated the direction they went with it in that respect. Didn't really like the Titan's head on there as much, but little things to complain about when this game was actually quite fun. So let's talk about Attack on Titan. If I take the noun Titanic and weaved it into an adjective, I would use it for a descriptive representation of this game. Aside from humor from naked giants who lack anatomically correct features and freedom to navigate quickly through missions, Attack on Titan is an average to above average play to take part in. The story here tells of the anime through seasons 1 and 2, but lacks pleasurable pacing in certain spots to progress. If you can appreciate its effort to entertain, however, it does provide a shadow of the Colossus experience on crack. So toke it in and let the action consume you. Next up we have Origami, and this one was, oh, pardon me, that's not the correct one. We have Origami, Collector's Edition. This one's by Maximum Games. Mature rating there at the bottom, Collector's Edition. However, I believe the Collector's Edition is because of some downloadable content online. This really looked intriguing to me the first time I saw it, and I could tell it was kind of, low budget, I think. But I ended up playing it, and it was, decent at best. Control the shadows, had a good idea, but just didn't execute like I was planning to see with this game. So talking about Origami. Mom always said, in order to be a healthy ninja, you must be a stealthy ninja. And because there's no vegetables in sight, you must rely on your shadow warping and other skills to avoid detection. Tenchu, eat your heart out, because we are back to enemies being able to kill you as quickly as you kill them. Shadow warping aside, the mechanics don't quite jive like they should, and this can be a reason worthy of 1,000 cuss words. From a game I expected more from, I don't recommend sneaking this one into your cart. And our next game is called Bladestorm Nightmare. Of course, the sequel to the PS3 Bladestorm game. And this is by Koei and Tecmo as well, I believe. T rating there at the bottom. Some pretty interesting artwork. I like that on the front. It looks pretty nice with the dragon up there. The two clashings of the swords. That looks pretty sweet. The 100 Years' War epic returns with a vengeance. And this is pretty much produced by the same publishers or producers that did our first game, Attack on Titan. That would be Koei Tecmo and W Omega Force. So there you go. There's your rating there at the bottom with the reasons. And these games take up quite a bit of space. This one's a 15 gig minimum. It tells you all about that right over here in the in this area. So I'm just, man, I can't believe how much space these things take. You really need to have like a 500 gig PS4 to even get started with some of these games. But let's talk about Bladestorm Nightmare. The name in itself sums up the general gameplay here. I was hoping for an amazing sequel with a graphics jump worthy of mention, but I received a slight graphics jump with add-in content I could have done without. It's a very sequential look at battle and a nod to Kingdoms Under Fire. The actual battles are really the best part of what can only be described as an epic disappointment. The cutscenes and story are still as dull as before. This game really needed a reboot, but like the old Dr. Demento skit, it received a boot to the head. And now we come to a game that has sealed itself into the Hall of Fame for the PlayStation console. This is the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare on PS4, including the terminal bonus map. As you can see at the bottom, you see the Infinity Ward old font that reminds you of the Call of Duty 4 intro. Very, very cool, guys. Activision mature rated title. This one is a little bit surprising. I did actually like it. This has a campaign multiplayer and zombies. It's one of the best selling franchises on PS4. It's funny that they have to advertise that because I think we know that, right? This is rated mature for all those reasons there at the bottom. Yeah, guys, this was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. I know I'm going to get some gamer hate here, but as I clenched my controller, hoping I wasn't just playing another wallet soaker, I saw the unique attributes I had wanted to see when Black Ops 3 was released. They did not hold back, trying to bring us something new, and it was great. Mostly, I refer to the online play, but the story is also a far cry from what prior entries have been, and as refreshing as morning dew. I had continued faith that this one would redeem the franchise, and then we get zombies also. 9 years after Call of Duty 4, I tear up as I see the progression that I knew would come. And then next up, we're going to be talking about Crash Bandicoot's Insane Trilogy. And guys, this was way cool. 3 games, 3 original remastered games, rated E, 10 and everyone up by Vicarious Visions and Activision. Man, they did this game justice, or these games, I should say. This is Crash 1, 2, and 3. And now I played all 3 of these in their entirety, and wow, such good memories and such good graphics jumps and such good power that you could really feel that you're on a system with some juice behind it. So, you know, Crash was great, Crash 2 got better, and Crash 3 was even better, I think. So really fun, guys. This is rated E for their cartoon violence and comic mischief. So I do recommend anybody going out and picking this game up immediately. It's a great play. So my only question is, why did they not do this one sooner? I only know about 2.5 million people who have been clamoring for its re-release. Who would have thought smashing countless boxes would yield anything other than an STD? Well, the Naughty Dog team knew this had potential, and they hit it out of the park for the countless who loved level-hopping hijinks. This trilogy is exactly what we all wanted, from upscaled graphics, new physics engines, and new options to play as Coco, Crash's sister, and familiar level completions that tested our prowess then and now. If I had to state any negative with this new option for Crash, it's texturing in some areas and some frame rate dips. It could have done well with some 60 frames per second, but I'm really not going to shoot it down too harshly when the Vicarious Visions team worked so hard to bring back to life the action cartoon platformer we all desired for so long. And from the minds of Nippon Ichi, we bring you Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. Yes, they made a 5th game in this series, and it's on PS4 right now for your enjoyment. This is kind of a special edition. This comes with the bonus art book, soundtrack, and reversible cover, rated T. And there's your rating there at the bottom. Then I'll go ahead and open this up since I have it open already to show you what's inside. And you can kind of get a gist of what you'll get if you get this special edition. Not too fancy, but it's got some extras in there that are cool. When you get the case, you have the same cover art, pretty much as the box art. As you open this up, though, and take out this cover here, it is reversible. Not too fond of this cover as much as I am the front cover, which is right here. I just think that this one's a little bit too busy. Wasn't into that as much, so I will use the original cover with my game here. Let's talk about the extras that it has. Now, it comes with this soundtrack right here, and I wouldn't recommend the soundtrack unless you're a hardcore fan. I threw this in my CD player in my car, and I just wanted to be reminded of the game a bit, and I was, but it was just pretty annoying, to be honest, and I wasn't into it. Just couldn't do the soundtrack, guys, but the art book was actually pretty nice. I did enjoy thumbing through this for a few minutes here, and it has some really nice art in it. So I do recommend getting this set. If you want to spend a few more bucks, you'll get a little bit extra with the art book and the reversible cover along with the soundtrack there. So let's talk about Disgaea. So returning fans, welcome back to the world of manipulation and beefed up digital chess that only NIS can bring you. It's not a common thing to be immersed into RPG elements like this game brings you into the modern plethora of games, but behold, Disgaea 5 holds nothing back. If you think of the price point and the 100+ hours you need to play, With 44 to 47 classes with DLC, it really makes the purchase seem worth it. New squad options are completely useful, rewarding and entertaining, and the developers let you choose your own path with the ultimate outcome you desire and won't punish you for making a choice. That's the beauty of this game, and I know countless hours must have gone into coming up with the choices alone. Revenge gauges are also a nice touch, and I could go on and on praising it, but we don't need a review as long as the game itself. Just know you're in for a major undertaking if you decide to venture down this latest installment's path. Blasting our way in next, we bring you Earth Defense Force 4.1, The Shadow of New Despair. Yep, I had to take 2 breaths while I said that. That is quite a long title, isn't it? This is only on PlayStation, guys. This is by Xseed Games and mature rated there at the bottom for blood, language, and violence. One of the games that you just kind of get because it's out there and it's fairly rare, and you don't really, it's not a game that you really brag to your friends that you have, but you get it to play it to kick some bug butt. So that is why I got this, and I'll tell you a little bit about it now. It's the perfect blend of average. What I mean by that is a game that doesn't tread new ground or impress me with anything profound. I have to give it credit, however, for sheer size with 80 missions in multiplayer, choice weapon selections, and unavoidable action immersion on every street. It's truly a wall of effects, and I guess I can see why the graphics took a dip for the amount of pixels that are thrown at you. It is what it is, and unless you have an itch for bug bites and Benadryl, make sure you're wearing your off repellent. Next up, we're talking about 2 favorites of mine, The Guardians of the Galaxy, which definitely is some of the best movies that I've seen in recent times, and also the Telltale series. It's really cool that these 2 combined, and I'm very happy that I have this game. It's rated T for teen, and then there are your reasons down there at the bottom. Like I said, I'm glad this was made because I really wanted to have this experience with this group here, with this Marvel group, and then have the Telltale twist thrown into it. I really liked the fact that this was made. However, the game wasn't amazing, so we'll talk about it right now. We come to a modern rendition of the Guardians that lean toward the movies more so than the comics. Sadly, however, we lose these emotional moments that our cinema actors bring to the table. Also, we lose the genius in story other than some brief looks at character past. Is there humor? Yes, but it's a forgettable experience that I wish held a stronger impact. The most favorable part of this game is that you get to make choices with the characters held so dear to our hearts, and that in itself is a pro. I guess the expectations here pales in comparison to what we get, and this is why I can't say this title is stellar. Next up, we're talking about Gravity Rush Remastered, and guys, I'm not going to spend $80 for the North American version, so I got the Chinese English version, which is pretty much the same thing, for gosh sake. I mean, it really is. And I mean, the only difference really is in the game a little bit when you're playing it, and then of course you're going to get that Chinese writing there on the side and the Chinese writing on the back as well. Not a big deal though. I mean, this is still cool. It is what it is. It's a fun game. And it's it's the price is right with this one if you get the Chinese English version. As opposed to $80, you're paying maybe $25 or $30 for this one. So let's talk about Gravity Rush, a 2012 PS Vita remaster and an RPG/open world action game where any direction could be considered up. The only way to describe the anti-gravity mechanics is literally like a ragdoll being slingshot across a void in hopes that it lands on its feet. It's not the easiest gameplay, but once it's mastered, it becomes a unique and artistic puzzler that's strangely satisfying, and does end up in the upright position. Following up immediately after that game, we're going to bring you the sequel here. This is Gravity Rush 2, rated T for teen, and some okay artwork. I like the artwork on the first game a little better. I think it's more subtle, but this one definitely is a slight upgrade from the first one. This is by Japan Studio. Rated T for blood, fantasy, violence, mild suggestive themes, partial nudity, and use of alcohol. So yeah, this one was pretty fun, guys. Let's talk about Gravity Rush 2. Dialogue driven in certain parts, and a slight learning curve is inevitable in both games, but otherwise, this is more of the same gravity manipulation with slightly improved graphics, more options and features. I found it slightly annoying being locked into conversation when all I wanted to do was become weightless and drift away, but when the fun starts, it moves, and your kitty cat paves the way for high-flying aerial stunts. Gems appear in the city and become an addictive addition to advanced ability upgrades. This sequel is the only way one should be getting high, and it's much cheaper. And coming in next, we have Just Cause 3, and I really like the way this one's presented. The artwork's awesome. This one's by Square Enix and Avalanche Studios, winner of 12 awards and mature rated. Set the world on fire. Rated mature for blood, intense violence, and strong language. Let's talk about Just Cause 3 a little bit, shall we? Right away, I was impressed by the beautiful island and blue oceans you get to wreak havoc on. However, little things kept muddying up the water. What happened to frame rate here? It's like it took a dip in the majestic blue waters, never to return to the surface. Aside from this horrific reality, it has its moments of fun that last for around an hour or so here and there. Is it a keeper? I have to say, after a steep price drop, perhaps, but I can't see this one remaining popular for story or for repeat gameplay. It seems like they made this one just 'cause. Next up, we are talking about this Steelbook edition of the King of Fighters 14. This one's by Atlas, rare publisher there. You don't see them very often. When you do, you know you're in for a rare game usually. This one's rated T14, and it's a PS4 console exclusive. You have quite a few fighters on this one, as you can see. This one was actually really good. As compared to the other ones, I thought this one was one of the better ones for sure. This is the Steelbook case. I just wanted to show you that briefly. There's really nothing inside other than the game, but that's what it looks like on the inside. And this one was actually brand new. I just barely picked it up and played it for a bit to review for you guys. So, about King of Fighters. Have we come to the cream of the crop with the latest installment of King of Fighters 14? Well, personal bias aside, I will go out on a limb and say yes, it is the best of its kind to date. I actually like having a slowed gameplay and heavily reliant tutorial. It really opens up the 50 players you will need to choose from. Although this game is the queen of fighters next to the likes of Mortal Kombat 10, it breathes life back into this once generic fighter. Being a leg man myself, I was given plenty of them here, and as long as I picture my wife's head on the athletically fit montage of women, it's fine, right? Next up, we're talking about Little Nightmares, and this one's by Bandai Namco. T rating there at the bottom. Love this presentation. You can't go wrong. This looks like an indie game, but it isn't. It's by Bandai Namco, but I love the indie game feel. That's why I like this cover a lot. There's your rating at the bottom. And let's just dive right into this one, shall we? So, we've crossed into the realm of horror genre. I have come to adore with games like this one. It's Limbo versus Twilight Zone goodness, and an eerie environment backed up by 30 frames per second. The best part of Little Nightmares is the lighting, because it really sets the overall mood of the cruise ship you navigate through. Although you will feel threatened while sneaking around, it's actually a gas to mess with the freaks that are trying to find you. Half the time I find myself being the mouse that crawls up on your bed and gnaws at your hair before scampering away when you notice. For the perfect blend of fear and funny, make Little Nightmares your next big purchase. And after that we come to Mega Dimension Neptunia, and this is number 7 by Idea Factory, rated T. I see this one as being kind of a rare title in the future, or sought after at least. It's kind of a new take on the Hyperdimension Neptunia series. There's your rating there at the bottom. Next gen, next form, next Nep. So we'll just get right into this one as well. This is the fresh and darker answer to the Hyperdimension Neptunia series on PS3 and impresses on almost every new level. Dreamcast fans, be prepared for much more than a nod with Izumi, and series fans be prepared to rethink boss battles this go around. This is a well-constructed 3-tier dimensional series in one. From amazing visual novel cutscenes to improved storytelling and graphic jumps, Mega Dimension will converge on your senses and open your eyes to the series. So I'm really happy they decided to come up with this game and make it on the PS4, because I really like the PS3 versions of this game, and I enjoyed the stories and I enjoyed the gameplay. This is Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, rated T, with Bandai Namco down there, same as the last game. And as we look at this one here, it actually looks really good. It's presented really well. There's your rating at the bottom. There's a lot of high action in this game, but there are definitely some problems with this one that we're going to talk about. So let's get into the Ninja Storm here. They've really raised the bar for a gaming industry lately with the introduction of finales of great game franchises. Naruto 4 is one example that doesn't stack up completely. If ever a game wanted to brag, this one took full advantage of that right by saying, "We will do what we want, and to hell with the details." It is the biggest fanfare title yet, but there are some hiccups. Plot flaws are seen within the gameplay, so if you're a die-hard fan, you will notice them. I wish to the manga gods I could say the game is perfect, and although impressive action and flair still plague this installment, it still remains fairly average. And then next up, we're talking about Ratchet and his pal Clank. This was a really, really amazing game. I was really blown away by it. I was thinking, you know, after so many games on PS3, how can they make another great one? And they did right here. This is by Insomniac, E10 and up, and just presented so nicely. The game all the way to the end was way fun, definitely worth a play, and definitely in the price range to buy now. So, talking about Ratchet and Clank, from 2002 until now, this series has really progressed, and up to date, this one is the crown jewel. The design and effort that went into making this game gives Picasso a bad name. If anyone remembers the album by the Scorpions titled Animal Magnetism, it may give some answer to the collection system in Ratchet and Clank. It is so refreshing to have the rewards from items you willfully smash returned to you like a positive and negative polarity would allow, and the pixel gun is quite simply heavenly as you blast through enemies like Flynn on the game grid. Now, I'm not saying the game is void of minute problems, but for the most part, we're seeing the future for Ratchet and Clank, and its execution is spot on. And we had to review it eventually. This is Resident Evil Biohazard. This one does include the VR mode, in case you do have that system, which I know I don't. I'm not rich yet, so haven't bought that. This is rated mature by Capcom and presented well, really well as well as the other games. I think that for the horror genre, this has really been kind of a staple. And this new version here is just that. It's a new version. And it is definitely another road traveled for Resident Evil. So let's talk about it. With a dilapidated look at Zombie Survival 101, we stumble upon Resident Evil 7. Aside from missing the third-person view a little, I fell victim to appreciating the first-person view all over again here. They reverted to some of the things that made the predecessors great, be it keys or puzzles, and entwined them within the roots of this game's fully matured form. Americana horror has been resurrected with a polished look and dark gameplay. The story and dialogue suffer like the protagonist for the most part, but despite its shallow progression, there is enough to make up for the cliché "my girlfriend got possessed" scenario, with a survival overtone that will creep you out to the point of coloring the floor yellow, especially in VR mode. I do recommend testing this latest installment for yourself, if you dare. And next up we come to Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I'm really happy what they've done with these games lately on the PS3 and the PS4. This one's by Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix, and this is the special edition 20-year celebration. It's rated mature. There's the back in your presentation. It looks really nice. Your rating there at the bottom. And let's go ahead and take a look at this book that it comes with. I'll go ahead and take it out and show it to you. So if you get this version, you'll see what you're going to be getting. Basically, it's just the game, and then pretty much just an art book that you're getting here with, I think, probably, you know, some pretty good decent art of Lara Croft there. This is my favorite picture in the book right here. You remember what I said about legs, right? There you go. So, yeah, it's pretty sweet art you got of Lara Croft in different time frames, pretty much. And some fan art, looks like, as well. So really cool, guys. Kind of a cool little collection. It's not much more, so I do recommend picking it up if you have a moment. So talking about Rise of the Tomb Raider, another Crystal Dynamics take on the woman who refuses to leave middle-aged men and teenagers alone with her curvaceous voodoo. Rise looks so good and really offers a dynamic and intricately crafted world that knows how to capture environments. Aside from mounds of destructive behavior, exploration returns and reminds us of the original installments. If we were to choose a female role and stick her into an Uncharted game with some wilderness skills, you would want it to be this game because it excels at what it does. It's the perfect blend of grittiness, intensity, and allure. And then next up we have a game that is actually two games that are a bit surprising. This is the Steamworld Collection, Steamworld Heist and Steamworld Dig, A Fistful of Dirt. And look at that, it's by Rising Star Games. up-and-coming rare games will be by this company. So look for these titles. When you see the Rising Star, get them because they probably will have value in the future. This one's E10 and everyone up on the rating. There's your presentation on the back with your rating there at the bottom as well. So about Steamworld. Now, usually I would find myself with a fidget spinner in one hand and my controller loosely gripped in the other as I trudge my way through a side-scrolling platformer. But with this Steamworld compilation, I really saw something uniquely great. Fighting alongside robotic companions in a space setting in Heist was strangely addictive and a monument to the collection. Dig was also enjoyable, based in a western setting, tunneling your way underground and immersing you into a mining expedition. There were elements of Dig Dug and Metroid, and make no mistake, they really nailed it with this set, and the price is right, as Bob Barker would say. My suggestion is to get the physical versions like this one, and give indie companies that push they deserve to keep making games we dig. Coming to our last game of our PS4 review, we are going to be talking about Tales of Assyria, and I was really interested in what they would do with this version. This is the North American version by Bandai Namco. I was really, interested in seeing where they would go with the story on this one, because I've played all the Tales games up to this point on PS3, and now PS4 brings us this one. And I'd have to say, I think this is my favorite of all of them. I really liked it. It's just the darkness in me, it's just a little bit of the dark side that I have. There's your rating there at the bottom. Let's get right into Tales of Assyria for you. This latest installment of Assyria was a mystical overdrive of desired changes the series needed for a fresh coat of paint. It is the tragedy of the Tales titles. You follow the innocent turned demon Velvet in a detailed look at revenge. The strengths don't quite lie in its level design, but rather its story and battling system. With as many hours as it takes to play here, however, the fresh taste of vengeance becomes a bit stagnant over time. On the other card, it's nice to pick up a title and revel in delight, as you somewhat sadistically lay waste to anything or anyone in your path. After playing this latest installment, we can understand why revenge is a dish best served cold. This is G1 Toys urging you not to hop on board the first flying saucer that promises you life everlasting on the planet Gorzon. Think it through and use the facts you've been given to make an intelligent decision, or maybe just for a laugh, throw a wrench into the thermonucleonic propulsion system and watch the sparks fly.
By the hub, it's working!
Visions! I'm seeing visions.
Ugh, I think I'm gonna puke. Something's wrong! Shut it down! Shut it down!
We're in